Yeah, it doesn't have any attached documents.
I think,
So
yeah, I think the problem is with my Acrobat is showing that it's all part of the same file, but I think it actually,
so
yeah,
I will receive it because it doesn't have any attached documents, so we don't have the duplication issue.
yeah, sorry, that's a computer
And
problem on my end.
okay, been there. Okay, so we're dealing with C37 then. The video, what is the objection to receipt?
On this one, this was pulled off a website, so I'd like some foundation for how it came to be. And
Okay, that in dealing with, and just to check, I mean, it obviously is a video. That seems to be hard to
I will concede
dispute,
that. Yes.
right? And it contains what it contains. Um, and so just to check, you're offering this regarding the representations made in this. I mean, that this is a 2013 video, correct?
Yes.
Okay, regarding the representations made in that time to the extent that they um, are contrary to or um, I don't see really in the circumstances as to how the foundation would impact whatsoever on the relevancy issues.
I mean,
Unless that you're claiming that it was a doctored, you're not claiming it's a doctored video, are you?
No, but I think I'd like some context for how it came to be, and because it's not a UWM owned video, it wasn't pulled off our website.
Okay, well then the question, all right, Ms. Hassel, do you have any idea of how this video got on YouTube?
this is a video that Dean Stojkovic himself used UWM monies, hired a production crew to produce. He
Okay,
flipped it.
just hold on a second.
Yes, sir.
How um how do you know what's the basis for the claim that he produced this? What's the evidence that you have
I
for
was
that?
in it. Dean Stojkovic and I are in the video talking about my remunerative consulting work.
Okay, so um okay, and um that my understanding in the situation that you, because you worked on it with them, understood this to be a UW project, right?
This is a UWM video, UWM and Helen Bader School of Social Welfare video.
And that's from your being part of its creation, right?
Yes.
This one is on the other. I'm going to, in the situation that if you want to ask questions or dealing with things more about the foundation, I'm going to admit it. My understanding is that there is some whatever it says regarding the views or involvement about, this is my understanding being primarily for claim of his view of her consulting before she filed a complaint versus after. So I think that I will put in this one. Okay, so I believe then I've dealt with all the complainant's exhibits. And then I will um, all right, my understanding, Ms. Hassel, is that we left off, last thing I have notes about was that the issues regarding the grants versus independent, and that he wanted grants rather than independent consulting work. But in dealing with I will go to.
Your Honor, do you mind if I take a quick restroom break?
Not at all.
Thank you so much.
Take 5. Okay. So,
I'm sorry, Your Honor. It wasn't allowing me to print it, but it is now. It was checking to make sure there were no
okay.
errors.
Are you ready?
I'm sorry, I'm not, Your Honor. I'm ready, Your Honor.
Okay. So, back with your testimony, and I'm just going to approach this a little different. First, in dealing with your IRB investigation, did you ever hear Dean Stojkovic saying anything to them regarding that investigation?
Did I ever hear Dean Stojkovic say anything to the IRB?
Right.
I did not.
Did Dean Stojkovic ever say anything to you regarding the IRB investigation?
He did not.
Just, okay, so I'm just what I'm going to do, and then I'm going to leave something, a variety of things to you after that, is go over a variety of questions regarding the letter, which seems to be the next primary thing. And first, dealing with a second. All right, so there's a dealing with a statement. Is it correct that you were working as a consultant for a specific project that would be completed in 2017?
To be completed in 2017? No.
Right.
I don't believe so, Your Honor.
All right, in 2017, though, you did have, you were working as a consultant for the police department, correct?
Yes, sir, I received yes, I was.
Okay, and just, and in that consultant role, and I think we've been over that, your claims, as I understand it, that there wasn't a distinction to your understanding between how, or, well, just explain, what was your claim regarding the difference between the university's involvement in private consulting work and what happened when the university was named, was through the university?
I'm sorry, are you asking me the difference between remunerative consulting and like a grant-funded project that goes through the university?
Yeah.
Remunerative consulting is when you work by contract with an agency to do what the agency wants you to do. When you get a grant and you run it through the university, a federal grant in particular, the university takes 49% of the money as their profit. And then what happens is you're bought out of classes. So our time is divided. So my contract is 50% teaching, 25% research, 25% service. That's how my time is distributed.
So
If
just
I
hold
had
on, hold on a second here. I don't think we had that before. So your time, time is, you said, 50% teaching.
25% research and 25% service. It was when I was hired and still is.
25% research, 25% service.
Yes, and so when you,
Hold on a second. So
I'm sorry.
you're saying that if you're working as a consultant, it's all on your own time?
Yes, so in addition to what you're doing, you're also spending time conducting research. I mean, it's part of your 25% research, but yes,
Okay, and in the matter, and that you get 100% of it?
of the money.
Yeah.
Um,
When you act as a,
yes,
um,
you're paid directly. Yes.
okay, and so in the situation, if it's a grant, on the other hand, grants that it, both at the university gets gets how much of it?
49%, my understanding of the indirect rates. They might be higher now, I'm not entirely sure, but I believe it's 49%. They're called indirect rates, and I think that,
Okay, and then it also, though, it results in a reduction in teaching?
yes, sir. So so if I had a grant and I had a course buyout, then my annual time distribution would be 25% teaching, 50% research, and 25% service.
Okay, so in dealing with the matter, but the the situation in that is that with the Milwaukee Police Department, that was a contract directly with you, but you say, but you're saying that the MPD contract that you just get, but there wasn't one that was what was ending in 2017.
No, best I can recall, no, there wasn't one ending in 2017.
Okay, so in dealing with that, in relation to the issue regarding representation, that is, were you taught anything or told anything regarding what people that you were working with could represent regarding the relationship with you, or I think just with you, and is saying in the matter you were a professor at the UW versus with the university itself. So, are you told anything regarding what the people that you're working with are supposed to represent you as?
Yes. So when I did my first, when I got my, well, when I was asked to work as a consultant for the very first time, it was in 2009, and I met with Dean Stojkovic directly to discuss it because I didn't know what the policies were about engaging in contract work or remunerative consulting work. And so Dean Stojkovic explained that when you get a grant and it's run through the university, it's university-sponsored research. And so then, it's UWM conducting the research. When you get a remunerative contract or a contract, it's Dr. Hassel, who's a professor at the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee, conducting the I do program evaluation, so conducting the evaluation. So there's a difference between, they can't say UWM did an evaluation, but they can say Dr. Hassel, professor at UWM, did an evaluation. So that's what he explained to me, and that's what I've always communicated to everybody.
Okay, so you would understand that you would agree then that if the MPD was characterizing their relationship as with the university, that would be incorrect, right?
Yes, it would. If on a project with me, if I was working as a consultant and somebody from MPD said this is a UWM research project, that would be incorrect.
Okay, so the extent in the letter that it is that if the chief was in fact characterizing the relationship with you as a partnership with UWM, it would be incorrect, right?
It would be, but he never did.
Well, I was saying that
It would be.
I'll hold it. If okay, so in the circumstances that you are claiming in the matter that um, the statement, the main issue with this, that if the chief had in fact been characterized that would be understandable, but you're saying that the basic problem you have with it is that you view that he didn't.
I know that he didn't. Right. He didn't.
Well, I mean, the thing is in the matter that you don't know every statement that he's ever made or communication that he's ever made, right?
He told me that he did not.
Okay, well, dealing with a situation that there is um, uh, all right. So my understanding as well that if somebody tells you don't have any basis to know whether somebody told um, Dean Stokovic that he had been. So, but that's the rest of the letter. My understanding is is just to talk about it. And my understanding is that you aren't, if that the chief had been characterizing it in that way, then after that, my understanding is that the rest of it, you would not have, in my understanding, a issue with it, right?
I have a huge issue with the entire letter.
And what, I mean, if, let me just take dealing with, if the, and the seeing is that, let's just take so that I'll see what the rest of the situation, if the chief had been characterizing it, just to say for the purpose and looking at the rest of the letter, if the chief had been improperly doing that, is there anything that under that circumstance that would be improper and inappropriate about the rest of the letter if the chief had been doing that?
Yes, there
Right.
are other improper aspects. Yes.
What, assuming, for the purpose right now, I understand you dispute that, you say the chief didn't do it and that it didn't happen in the situation, but if, what, even if that was the situation, what language in the rest of the letter do you have a issue with?
I'm going to pull
Because
it up.
it seems to be all relating to that distinction, and it is ERD 108 if you're looking for it.
It's ERD 108. Thank you so much.
Yeah. I mean, if he had been doing that, what is improper about the rest of the letter?
He insinuates 3 different times that I had violated federal laws, state laws, and UWM rules.
How?
He says, UWM, this is the 3rd paragraph. UWM has, on page 1 of the letter, UWM has a vested interest in pursuing the most credible and reliable research. Says, to that end, UWM ensures that all work with and for its partners is performed in compliance with university rules and regulations, as well as applicable state laws and federal laws. He says this is not to suggest that Professor Hassel is not in compliance with applicable laws. However, because she is performing her work as a private consultant, this project is not subject to UWM oversight, and UWM disclaims all liability to it.
Which sounds exactly, where is that if in the matter it says that you're not?
In the next paragraph, Your Honor, in the, I think, 2nd full paragraph, we want to continue that work, but we need to follow our own protocols and rules to make this happen, which insinuates that I'm not and they would. And then there's,
Okay, so my understanding is that, but so that you view some other claim other than the fact that they simply are not involved and so have no ability to know what you're doing, that somehow there's some other there's another insinuation other than simply that we aren't insuring it so that we can't have our name on it. So I just was saying that for this thing is that I don't, and you can deal with the matter and I'll leave with the situation that I'm not seeing in this what you're seeing in this. But dealing with, and at this point, I'll go into redirect. I mean just in basically to say as far as the obviously the central question in dealing with is whether he had reason to believe that the police department had been. I am not just saying the matter. I don't read this as any criticism of you in dealing with the situation, and so that you're going to have to in your brief or something else convinced me more, because other than a dispute over the whether or not he had in fact characterized it in that manner, it seems to be entirely directed at Chief Flynn and activities, and not yours. Anyway, that at this point, this is dealing with that. I will end my questioning, and in dealing with then as far as your testimony regarding what you want to add to the situation. I mean, one of the and just to check, and but I just want to make sure about this, that your claim is that the letter well, just to seeing the other thing, is there any indication that otherwise that the university would not prefer to get a 49% cut of anything rather than having it go directly to the consultant?
Of course they would, Your Honor.
No,
Because
I'm just saying that is there anything that you're claiming, reason why that preferring to have grants which they get 49% of rather than the person getting it all is not anything about that you're claiming is discriminatory, retaliatory, because they want 49% of the money?
there are no policies requiring faculty members get grants. None. There are no policies requiring that I apply for or receive external funding to run through the university to conduct research. There are multiple policies about being able and encouraged to engage in remunerative consulting. There are policies stating those are professionally relevant activities. There are policies stating that you list those remunerative projects on your activity reports and in your CV when you go up for promotion and tenure. So it's included as part of your professional activities for purposes of performance reviews, for tenure, and for promotion. So
okay, just as saying, and I dealing with, and I understand the question and the circumstances, and dealing with as far as in looking at what your claims are, that among the things that you will need to prove in the circumstances is whether or not that their desire that things be grants was any differently applied with you than it was to males or people who didn't oppose or people who didn't file a complaint at any different point, and in the circumstances. But my understanding is that the letter itself, what I would understand are the things that the prime issue of factual dispute has to do with claim that he characterized those things, and also that dealing with the argument, you'd have to show how this letter in any direction says anything negative about you at all, because I don't see it. I mean, it is directed at correcting what is claiming to be a mischaracterization of the situation by Chief Flynn. So you have to show in specific language, not an implication, but what actually is said, because in dealing with that, what it says is directed solely at Chief Flynn. So go ahead with your with the testimony that you have and starting at whatever direction, but, please remember that it has to go, it has to address what is before me and the actions of the respondent as I've taken pains to define. Go ahead with the next question. Go next with the testimony, and the more that you can save for these purposes and make it sound like you're answering questions rather than a narrative or rather than an argument, it would be better, because that tends to be a problem when people are testifying not in a question and answer format. So anyway, we'll see how it goes. What do you want to talk about regarding what happened from here?
I'd like to discuss how Dean Stojkovic treated my remunerative consulting projects prior to me complaining to, the letter in the IRB investigation after.
Okay, so then when you do saying point to specific, what event or situation do you want to go to?
Okay, so as I started to explain, the very first remunerative project I got was in 2009 in Racine, with Racine Police, the city of Racine, actually. I went to Dean Stojkovic before even signing a contract to get guidance on whether or not we could do that and then how to do that. So, for example, he helped me write a memorandum of understanding. He told me how much to charge per hour. He explained that, criminal justice agencies and police departments in particular don't get a lot of money for funding, and so they typically prefer to hire consultants versus, running grants through the university. So he knew about the project and I did the project. The next remunerative consulting project that I had, I only had 5 prior. I had because Dean Stojkovic asked me to do it. Dean Stojkovic received an email from Officer Bill Singleton of the Milwaukee Police Department District 5 Community Prosecution Unit. Bill Singleton contacted Dean Stojkovic and said, look, I've created this program and I want a program evaluation. Dean Stojkovic forwarded me the email and asked me to meet with Officer Singleton and see if we could do anything with this, if I wanted to and if we could. Because a lot of times police departments have ideas, but don't really want to do they don't understand the evaluation process. So I asked Dr. Freiberger, Tina Freiberger, who was at the time was an assistant professor. She was department chair when the adverse actions occurred. I asked her if she wanted to join me to meet with Bill Singleton. In the planning stage, we kept Dean Stojkovic apprised because, again, he asked me to do it. So.
Okay, one of the things there's a lot of details regarding different parts, but I'm still trying to understand, having to look how specifically in the situation that this letter
I'll get to it, Your Honor.
just says in the matter that and let me just see in the circumstances, as I read this on the situation, it says, I don't see anything in it which discourages or says that you shouldn't have professional consulting relationships. It addresses one issue that I can see. I mean, this is a central issue doing other things, and that a criticism or response to a belief, rightly or wrongly, that Chief Flynn was characterizing his relationship to you as a partnership with UWM. That's it.
No, Your Honor.
Where is that in that letter? Is there anything other than the issue of don't characterize the relationship with her as one between you and the UWM. Show me something else in it that is any other issue than the letter.
So in the letter, he states that in the position statement.
I'm not dealing with a
Okay,
position
all right.
statement because the action that you're claiming violated the act is this letter. It's not the position statement or anything else. You're claiming that there's a bunch of reasons why this letter constituted retaliation or something else.
Okay.
And I am dealing with a situation I don't see, and I'm saying to show me in this letter anything other than what you're claiming is a mischaracterization, or that he reached the conclusion that this statement you're saying is factually wrong. Okay, you said that, you're clear that you believe that the characterization that stated that was wrong. But other than the only thing, show me somewhere in the letter that there is any other issue to this letter other than the chief's characterization of his relationship to you. Specific language.
So I'm concerned that you're reaching conclusions without any testimony at all. And Dr. Lovell was going to testify about this as well. So
No, I'm just asking and dealing with it. You are claiming in the circumstances, this is the prime action by the respondent that is subject to your complaint, right?
it is one of them, yes.
I mean, there is, as far as the specific actions, and going over it, my understanding is that there was telling somebody to investigate, and we don't have evidence that they did it. And in the situation, then we have this letter. And my understanding is that, just to check, and dealing with the situation, is that you make reference to, and I need to go on the complaint, to other interference with independent consulting relationships. And just so that, because it would help me understand the situation, what other interference other than this letter are you claiming that he did?
The allegations of noncompliance, the investigation of noncompliance, and he influenced the letter of noncompliance, the outcome of the investigation.
Okay, so my understanding, and those are all that the doing it in the circumstances, so that so that the actions that are subject to this now, as I understand it, are entirely this letter and issues relating to the letter of noncompliance, right?
The allegations, the investigation, and the disposition, the letter of noncompliance.
Okay, and we've already said in the circumstances that that is, I've already determined that the IRB decision itself is not part of this complaint, and dealing with this thing. So and just to check that the, okay, what's the number of the page of the letter of noncompliance?
That would be, there's one version on page 122. I think the clearer version is on 547.
Okay, the 547 is the official.
Yeah, that's the official one.
Okay. My understanding in just the the only thing found in non-compliance was a claim that regarding project number 1 that the university should have review and approval should have been obtained, right?
Regarding the conference presentation?
It just dealing with that's under the project number 1.
I need to pull it up. Yes, project number 1, correct.
Okay, so my understanding is that the project found, so they're clear, regarding two parts of the allegations, no non-compliance, right?
Yes.
Okay, so the only issue on the claim was that the concern or what they found relating to that because the results contributed to the generalized knowledge and you used UW credentials, so the UWM was also engaged and that they should have review and approval should have been obtained. Right, that's the findings.
Yes.
Okay, so, and my understanding is, and just to ask you the question, if it doesn't apparently say, and to show me as far as, because I'm trying to understand, that there was anything wrong with you having a independent with the project, just that in certain places that as part of your consultant, well, let me just ask it this way. Sometimes are consultants supposed to check with the UW?
I don't understand your question. Can you be more specific, please?
Okay. It says in the matter that what was non-compliant was that UW and IRB review and approval should have been obtained. That is the sole basis for the non-compliance, right?
Yes, for the disposition.
Right, in the circumstances, and is it possible to get review and approval of a independent project?
Yes.
Okay, so it would appear in the circumstances, as far as I read this, that the only fault given is not between those things, or in the matter is just that you should have, regarding the contract you had with on that matter, should have consulted with them and gotten approval for that area and going on with your project, right?
Yes.
Okay, so so how is this? I mean, the two things which you are saying were problems, and what the respondent did is that, as far as I can tell, they are a criticism, which you said is unfairly, of Chief Flynn, and saying not that this should have been a grant or not dealing with anything about you having the contract, but that you should have just gotten approval for a part of it, right?
That's what they're saying in the letter.
Okay, so how does that mean that they didn't, where in this, in any way, is it a criticism or a negation of your, of getting independent grant, funding, being a consultant?
Your Honor, you
I'm
don't
missing.
understand because you're not allowing for testimony. Dr. Lovell was going to explain all this because he worked with the
No,
ISD
I'm
closely.
okay. In the matter, I'm asking you as far as in dealing with where in the actions taken, we're dealing with in this area, and I'm trying to, walk these lines, but looking at precisely what they did and what's alleged in the complaint is first of all, I'm not seeing in the circumstances any other action by the respondent subject to your complaint, and I'm giving you, dealing with things, explain me where it is. As far as I understand, that the actions referred to, the actions criticize Chief Lynn, are trying to attract Chief Flynn, and they said you should have consulted and got their approval before going ahead with one of your contracts.
A letter of non-compliance is in your file. It's a big deal. It stays in
I'm
your
not saying
file.
it isn't, but I'm saying the criticism, though, that there's generating, and we've already said in the matter that the letter dealing with the situation yes, we're dealing with the question, we have the things as to whether or not they made a reference in the first place, and that's disputed. But I am, the things as far as the actions, my understanding is that we're talking of the actions as we've, is it clarified, is that the, the alleged referral